Welcome back, Sauce23 here, back again with some knife therapy, and today I have for you the GRAMBEAU Knives Russ. This knife is coming out of Australia, and I was made aware of GRAMBEAU knives thanks to Pete from Central Canada on YouTube, and I'm very glad I did get that email from him. So this knife right here is OEM'd by Best Tech Knives. They do some amazing OEM work, and it definitely shows on the knives I've gotten from GRAMBEAU Knives. These were sent to me by GRAMBEAU Knives just to check out, and then I'll send it on to the next person. These right here, the Russ comes in at 380 Australian dollars, or around 280, 290 or so US dollars. So let's get some specs out of the way before we go any further. We have an overall length of 8.25 inches. So it's a medium to large knife. You have a 3.5 inch blade length. You have a 4-inch grip area from right here to the back. You have a closed width in the pocket at the two furthest points of 1.24 inches and a pretty chunky blade stock thickness of 0.14 inches. And the behind the edge thickness on this knife is around 18 thousandths, but that is probably going to change. We will talk about that in just a second. All right, now let's talk about it now. Right now there is a flat grind on here, and one of the changes that are going to be made is this is going to be a hollow ground blade. So we'll talk about some of the other changes toward the end. But let's take a look at this. You have this nice attractive drop point blade. Kind of reminds me of like a Hogue Deca or or this Firetac. Just kind of has that, you know, that mean looking, real tough work style knife. And it comes with a nice attractive stonewash finish on it. Nice swedge. And it also has that Les Jard VECP style, you know, with this flat portion right here. The jimping on there is, I would call it mild traction or medium traction. It's grippy. You can slide off of it. It's wide. And wide jimping is usually not my favorite because it's usually not the most comfortable. And for me, it's not extremely comfortable. So I'm not a real jimping fan anyway. But if I have to have jimping on a knife, I would much prefer it to be fine jimping. That seems to be way more effective anyway. But I understand sometimes they do it for aesthetic purposes. You do have a sharpening notch right here that just barely clears the plunge line. You can see it clears it right here, but if you look on this side, you can see it's starting to widen up right there in the back, which hopefully is not an issue once they put a hollow grind on it, because that thinness will stay thin, you know, higher up, unlike a flat grind that as soon as it goes up, it starts to widen up on you right away. You have a nice point for piercing. It does have a decent bit of meat behind it, so it's not going to be dainty. It's not, you don't have to worry about it snapping that easily on you or anything. The blade steel on here is Bowler M390. It's a high edge retention stainless steel that, you know, is an excellent platform for a folding knife, or depending on what you're going to be doing with your folding knife. Let's close it up. The knife is riding on ceramic cage bearings, so it's a very smooth action. As you can see, if you let off that lock bar, it just drops shut. And then a couple of shakes, and it's going to go to its home there. You have dual thumb stud deployer on here. For the right side, it's easy to get your thumb in there, and I mean, it comes out with authority. Once you break that detent, whoop, comes out. On the left side, it's a little bit closer to the scales. It can be opened left-handed, but it's a lot easier on the right side. Just something, you know, for lefties want to tell, just let that be known. Almost looks like you could, let's see something. You could almost, if this was fine jimping and they have one right there, then you could easily front flip this. I'm not a great front flipper, so I can't do it, but I don't like front flippers, so Um, the action, like I said just a second ago, is nice and smooth. I love doing whenever I have thumb studs, I like doing a little thumb roll. Just I like feeling that glassy smoothness, especially when it's phosphor bronze. But when it's bearings and it's done right, I like that feeling as well too. And if I want to get it out quick, I just put my thumb on there. If you want to check out the detent, very nice positive click there. Let's close it up and take a look at the scales. You have a nice blasted, stone washed or tumbled, whatever you want to call it, finish on the titanium scales. They are contoured, and every edge has been softened, and you can see there's chamfers going all the way around. There's no stone left unturned on this knife. I like how they did this. And then you can see it fade off into a smaller chamfer because of where it's at. That's really, really cool. And it's mimicked on both sides. You have these like RJ Martin style or Poltergeist Work style see-through pivot right there. Whoop, 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 whoop. And that brings us to another change that they'll be doing. Right now, you have the Allen side, the Allen key sides. I guess that's Allen. That's usually what those are. And then flip it over here, you have the slots. Now in the final version, they're going to be he's removing the slots. I'm not sure why that's the case, because unless I didn't take this thing apart, unless this hardware has a D shape to it or something, or I don't know how it's going in there, but I would hate to have a free spinning pivot, or for some reason they put Loctite in it and you can't get it done, then you have nothing to hold back up on. So I don't know how that is working, and not sure the reasoning behind taking the slots off, but I'm sure he had good reason for it. Also, as you can see, this is a titanium liner lock. And this is probably one of the beefier titanium liner locks I've seen, because you see this, you have this big old thick titanium liner that's thick enough, and I will insert a picture somewhere right now. It's thick enough to have the stainless steel lock bar hardened insert in there, so you don't see that that often on a liner lock. And then if you look here, they have this plate that covers the liner. It's a inlay, and it has a nice diamond texturing on it, and that's another thing that will be changing. Even though I love the size and everything of that diamond texturing, he said he's going to make the diamond texture a little bit bigger. And it also has a flat spot underneath that pocket clip, so it doesn't tear up your pants. And this keeps you from over traveling that liner lock. Basically, it's almost like a frame lock. And also, it keeps you from putting your finger on the lock bar. So very nicely done. You get the best of both worlds with liner lock and a frame lock there. Your pocket clip is nice and contoured and very low profile. I like the way it sits. I was kind of worried about how far down it sits, even though that kind of throws my OCD off. I like to be centered. But the cutting that I did do with the knife, I did not feel that pocket clip at all. At least not in my medium-sized hands. The contoured scales felt pretty darn good. And while we're talking about the ergos, it was very comfortable whenever I was back on the knife a little bit. I did notice for my hands, and this is going to be different for everybody, and it may not be an issue for you, but you know how this flares out right here, and you have this point. Whenever I'm choked up all the way, like kind of up in that front, I noticed that this finger right there was landing right there on that hump. It made it a little bit uncomfortable, but I just adjusted my grip, because in this back part right here where these two fingers are in that hump and these two are in that front right there, very, very comfortable. You know, it's all about how you're holding it. And when I say, you know, up here was uncomfortable, it wasn't so uncomfortable that I felt like I need to put some gloves on, you know, for the little bit that I did do. Now let's check out the pocket clip in the pants real quick. All right, goes in the pocket nicely, and you have that much sticking out, so you do have something to hold on to for people who like that. I would have rather the deep carry clip, but I think it looks nice anyway. Does a good job of holding it in the pocket. The only thing I will say is that you don't have a ton of room underneath that clip, so if you're somebody that wears thick clothing a lot, you may have issues getting it over that. But the spring tension is set pretty good. It's kind of strong, but I've noticed because of that smooth spot underneath there that it goes in and out of my pockets rather easily, and jeans and my shorts. When I did have it in the pocket, I did feel it in the pocket. It wasn't weighing me down or anything. First in grams, 134.4 grams and 4.74 ounces. So for the size of the knife, I find that totally acceptable, and it may get a little lighter once it changes that to a hollow grind. I wouldn't think by much though. One other thing he mentions on the site that is going to be changed are any of these T6 hardware on the back side for the clip, and the overlay will be T8, so that's nice. I will try to look up and see what size these are. If I can find that, I'll put it somewhere in the video. All right, let's check out the lockup. Your lockup is sitting at around, I'd say 50 to 60%. And I gotta say, it is rock solid. I mean, you can't get much more solid than this. I cannot flex anything. I can't get any movement whatsoever. Bestech usually does an excellent job with their lock geometries. I've spine whacked a lot of Bestech knives, and I have not gotten many of them to fold. The only ones I've gotten to fold, they definitely were not meant to be stronger knives. The access to the lock bar is it's nice because you got this cutout right there, and the liner. I mean, this choil area goes a little bit underneath there, so I can push it over rather easily, especially when I'm using that side portion. Very, very nice right there. One thing I forgot to mention whenever I was talking about the weight, the knife is skeletonized inside right there on the top. On the show side scale, as you can see, nice and skeletonized, and on the bottom, on the other side of this overlay right here. You do have a flow through construction, so make it easier to clean it out, blow it out with some compressed air, put a Q-tip in there, however you want to do it. You have the big old barrel standoff in the back right here. You have the hidden lanyard post here in the back. Love that they didn't put a hole in the scales. And there's your stop pin, and it looks like, let's see, yeah, that's one thing I just noticed. Your stop pin is hitting a flat surface right there, which could cause, you know, up and down play over time. Hopefully that's not the case, and that's because you have a circle stop pin and a flat piece hitting in one spot over and over and over again, instead of a cupped area like this wrapping around, creating more surface areas. So I never really seen it be a problem on, you know, a thick stop pin like that, but you know, it's always a possibility. I do like the minimal hardware. It's very, very cool, kind of like Poltergeist work does as well. Your blade to handle ratio it's okay. You could fit maybe a little bit more in there, but then you'd have trouble with your lanyard hole, I guess. The centering is perfect on all three of the knives he sent to me. Perfect. Quick size comparisons. You got the Hinderer Firetac and the Pena X Series Mula. The Firetac is an excellent overall in length and in the hand. The Russ is a little bit thicker in hand than the Firetac, but very, very good. It's look almost identical in length, if not identical. We have the Southern Grind Bad Monkey and the Hogue Ritter Large RSK. The Large RSK is another excellent length size comparison. And lastly, we have the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Spyderco PM2. Very close in length to the Spyderco PM2. All right, nitpicks and complaints. There's not a whole lot. I guess the few things I would have liked to see this come out a little bit further. But like I said, with the hollow grind, it may not be an issue whatsoever of it widening up after the first sharpening. I don't know. I would have loved to see some fine cut jimping right there, just because I'm not a jimping fan, because it hurts my hands, and fine cut jimping works the best in my opinion. And also, like I said, I got a minor hot spot from this portion just whenever I was choked up on the knife, but it didn't take me long to adjust my hands and make it, perfectly fine. The thickness underneath here is fine for everything I carried it with, but if you have some super thick pants, that may be an issue. And being that I don't know why they're removing the the slots, I would like to see him stay, but I mean, that's whatever I'm sure he has good reasoning behind it. Some other changes that I've read that he said he's going to be making, instead of having the GRAMBEAU knives on the scales, he's going to have it on the pivot. I don't know if it's going to be on the front or the back, but it's going to be from the scales to the pivot. And let me see, was there anything else? One last change that I saw on the site is the blade stock thickness is going from 3.5 millimeters to 3.9 millimeters, or you could say 9/64 to 5/32. So it's going to make the blade stock thickness even thicker. I don't know if that'll matter whenever you put a hollow grind, depending on how deep the hollow grind is. So overall value, do I think the value is there? Yes, no doubt. There's a lot that goes into this, especially when you have this overlay and the milling on there, contour titanium, thick chunk of M390 at $280 or so. I definitely think it's worth it. And I think I'm going to, if I can afford it, I'm going to get on this pre-order as well. If y'all didn't see my review of the Aceto, go check that out now if y'all are interested. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns about the Russ, feel free to let me know down below. Love to hear y'all thoughts on the GRAMBEAU knives that I've reviewed, and if any of y'all are getting in on that pre-order. All right, guys and girls, I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.